Look, I can't help but think that now might be a good time for a little fire and ice. These
Oh,
do not
there is
know.
never a good time for fire and ice.
What happens when you mix fire and ice?
Warm water, baby.
It's bubbling, baby. Warm water. Warm water.
It is a Saturday afternoon. It is Fire and Ice. That is Brandon the Iceman Cone. I am Mike Tipton. We are over here at Union Draft House, 730 Sunland Park Drive, in the parking lots of the Shops at Solana. I remembered the name, and we are joined today by the president of the Sun Bowl Association, Bernie Olivas. We're going to talk about the Sun Bowl, everything coming up. Bernie, how are you doing today?
Oh, it's been fantastic. It's been kind of hectic the last week since our announcement last Sunday, but it's this is what the Sun Bowl exists for. So we are extremely happy, extremely busy, and wouldn't have it any other way.
So one thing that I wanted to talk about, I was there as we're getting ready to do all the announcements. We get the first team, and then all of a sudden the ACC is waiting because everything that happened, Florida State gets left out of the college football playoff. We know that that's going to push a lot of teams back as far as where their bowls are going to be selected at and all that stuff. Did you ever think that you were going to get Notre Dame?
We have a football committee that meets every week, and we'll go over standings, we'll go over results, we'll go over schedules, and not once in a whole football season was the name Notre Dame ever mentioned. We just thought they were too good, too good to where we pick. We pick up behind a lot of other bowls, and I said, man, if Notre Dame's available to anybody, they're going to take them, especially at that record. We had no idea that they would be part of the group of teams that we could have chosen from until we got the phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And even when we got the phone call, I still didn't believe it.
Sure,
I said, can you repeat that, please? And we're supposed to get the call at about 1:15 local time for the ACC, and at 1:30 from the Pac-12. Well, I kind of got the Pac-12 call even before 1:15, and we pretty much knew, or thought we knew, that we're going to hit Oregon State.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to my buddy over at the Holiday Bowl, he almost switched at the last minute to take Oregon State.
Wow.
Which would have given us USC.
Okay.
All right.
That works.
Which is not bad. However, as it turned out, that's the best thing that could have happened to us, because if we had USC, we couldn't get Notre Dame because they played each other this year.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And I believe, and I said, I don't know how it happened, but I believe that the Holiday Bowl had already picked USC when they found out that Notre Dame was available, so they couldn't take Notre Dame either.
Okay.
So a series of things. I think I have no idea still, because when they called us 2 hours after, about 3:30, and they said, these are the teams that are available to you, and they said Notre Dame, Miami, North Carolina, Duke. And I said, can you repeat that?
I'll take Duke.
I said, can you repeat, Pat? And he said, Notre Dame, Miami,
excuse me,
North Carolina, Duke. And we asked, what happened? And he says, can't divulge that. I said, well, I don't care. Let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. And as it turned out, we got lucky. They were available to us. We took them.
And what I really loved is your emotion when they were interviewing you on TV. You were ecstatic because nobody in their right mind figured this was ever possible again after 2010. It was impossible to happen again.
I thought it was impossible in 2010.
Sure.
And I don't know if people remember 2010, but they were not part of the ACC, and they were not part of the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And the only reason we had an opportunity for them, because the Pac-12 didn't qualify enough teams to go to the bowl game.
Okay.
So that left, Notre Dame was out there. But at that championship Saturday, there was 4 games being played, and all of them had to go in one direction. If one of them had gone in a different direction, the Holiday Bowl would have wound up with Notre Dame.
Sure.
The first one was kind of a layup. We knew one team was going to win, so that one went. Second one was a little closer, but that went the way we needed it to go. Then the third one, you start getting nervous in the third one, and that was a pretty good football game, and it went our way. So it was down to one game. It was the Apple Cup, Washington versus Washington State, and we needed Washington State to to win that game. And with a minute to go, Washington took the lead, and I thought our bubble kind of burst. But Mike Leach was a coach at Washington State, and in less than a minute, he took him to the other end of the field and scored and won. all 4 games had to go in our way, and they all did. One of them goes wrong, and Holiday Bowl winds up with Notre Dame. So, and after we got him, I said, "Hey,
this is it.
We did it.
It's a one-hit wonder, but we got him. Thank God. It never happened again. But, and that's the crazy thing that I was reading all the scenarios that actually had to transpire. And it started with Florida State not making the playoff.
That was the first domino.
And then the 3 bowl games that surprisingly passed on a really good Notre Dame team. And then came the lottery, and somehow you guys pull a rabbit out of your head and take care of business.
I'm still trying to figure out what might have happened. And I think that we were in that type of situation where the Gator Bowl, the pool that's above us is the Gator Bowl, the Holiday Bowl, and the Pop-Tarts Bowl down in Orlando. And and looking at everything that happened, I still can't figure it out. But I figured that, first of all, you're right. Florida not making it to the playoffs kind of pushed everybody down.
Absolutely.
And when we heard that in the morning, we thought that Clemson and North Carolina were going to go down.
Okay.
So Clemson would have been an opportunity for us, for us to have, which would have been also.
Sure.
And so was North Carolina. And, of course, Miami was probably the biggest name out there. And, Duke had a great team. I would have loved to have Duke as well, even though the coach left and their quarterback, entered the transfer portal. And we knew Oregon State didn't have a coach or head coach. So we kind of didn't want to have a bowl with 2 interim coaches. Yeah. We've had our share of interim coaches, but we've never had 2.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we would have had a shot at probably Clemson or North Carolina. However, I can see how the Gator Bowl couldn't take them because Notre Dame played there last year, so they were eliminated. I believe, and this is the one, I believe that Holiday Bowl had already chosen USC before they got the call that Notre Dame was available, because everybody, all of us thought that Notre Dame was going to the Outback Bowl or now the ReliaQuest Bowl. So they were off the table. So he chose Southern Cal because Oregon State had lost their coach and they lost their players. So he said, well, I'm switching to Southern Cal.
Mm-hmm.
So when that happened, well, then they couldn't take Notre Dame because they already had that matchup this year. So it came down to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and that's the one that I haven't been able to figure out.
It's an enigma. It really is.
That's the one that I haven't been figured out.
Must be because of the name, the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Hey,
I mean, I can't figure it out.
Pop-Tarts is a Kellogg's brand.
I like
Kellogg's is
I like Pop-Tarts too.
They have 3. Kellogg's has 3 bowl games,
and that's impressive. Tony the Tiger Symbol is the best name one.
That is without a doubt not the best name, but it's also the best logo in college football.
Agreed, 100%.
But they also have the Cheez-Its Bowl. So they have the Cheez-Its, they have the the Pop-Tarts, and now they have and Tony the Tiger Symbol. So Kellogg's is really into college football, and I love what they do because of what they're, as far as Tony the Tiger is concerned, and what they're doing with Mission Tiger, which we can get into if you want.
Yes.
But you know what? And I haven't even looked to see who the opponent was at the Pop-Tarts Bowl, because you would have thought that they would have taken Notre Dame. So
sure.
then, and I haven't checked because I really don't care.
You're like the chips fell your way.
Yeah.
I gotta know.
So they might have had a school that also played Notre Dame, or that they were going to play Notre Dame or something. So they couldn't take them, and that's how they dropped to us. It was wild. It was 2.5 hours after, all the bowls had already been filled out except for the ACC bowls, and they came in 2 hours late. And I got the text, say we're ready, and I ran into our war room where all our football committee, and got on the YouTube, not YouTube, the Zoom thing, and we started the negotiations, and worked out for us.
So was there ever a point where you're watching, Selection Sunday as it's happening, and you find out that Florida State's not going to make it to the college football playoff, and you're thinking to yourself, man, that has to be a horrible decision. Then you get a phone call that says Notre Dame's available. Did you ever just flip-flop on that and be like, that was a great decision, ACC or college football playoff? Thank you so much for allowing this to happen.
At the end of the day, you got to thank them. But, I tell you what, several years ago when the CFP first came in, the CFP invited lay people to come and go through the procedure. So they invited a lot of media, and they invited about 4 executive directors, and we went out to Dallas and went through the entire exercise. I tell you, I never want to be part of that. that is intense. It's got to be one of the toughest jobs to do ever, anywhere,
and thankless.
and it's very thankless. And you can see what's going on right now. But we went through the procedure, a mock procedure, with teams not that year. What they did was they went back to like 2011 or something and said these were the final rankings, and that we were going to do the exercise based on several years. This is the final standings. Okay, they asked us to first to rank all those 25 teams before we got there the next day. That was the first thing we did. So I went to the room, and then went to the room, ranked them the way I thought. And then we all show up, and then there's 12 different desks. We all have a computer. You can't see you can't see whatever the other one is doing. Then you got screens in front of you, and then there's a big screen at the top, and you got the wizard behind the curtain over here. He's handling all the things, and then he says, okay, now rank the top 15. So now you start ranking the top 15, and you start going down the list. And then when you start ranking, you can ask that guy just about anything that you could imagine, like what was the weather, and then is it a passing team? Who was hurt that day? Who did not get to play this day? I mean, you can ask him, and you can ask him anything. And then after everything is okay, now we rank them again. So then here comes the big screen. This is the way they rank. And now we're down to about 10. And now you got to go back again and do the same thing over and over. And when it gets to the end, it is one of the most nerve-wracking, excruciating exercises that I've ever been through. And I admire those guys do. They all know what football's about.
Mm-hmm.
They all know. They're all very intelligent people, and like I said, it's a no-win situation. You're never going to please everybody when you're picking 4 teams. And if there was ever a reason to go to expand the playoffs, this was it. You got an undefeated Florida State, 13-0 out of Power 5 conference, who got snubbed out. And I have, I think my reasons why I think it happened, but I'm not gonna tell you why. But
so I'll tell you why I think it happened. All right, I think they got their backup quarterback. They've got the injuries and everything like that happens to what their player is. And let's just face it. My opinion, and maybe my opinion only, Florida State plays Bama. Bama's winning that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think Georgia's more than likely going to defeat Florida State whenever they play. And it's going to kind of calm down the whole issue, right? This whole thing's going to be a non-issue by the time January comes, because we're just going to be so inundated with bowl season and everything like that to begin with. But let's talk a little bit about Oregon State, because I feel like we spent a lot of time talking about Notre Dame. So let's talk a little bit about Oregon State.
I'm glad you brought that, because I make it a point to tell people there's 2 games, there's 2 teams that are playing.
Yes.
And I make it a point, they are a pretty good football team.
Really
good. They're also ranked in the top 20.
Absolutely.
Well, so how important is that to you? Like, we're getting a matchup right now that's a top 20 matchup where you got the 18th ranked team versus the 16th ranked team. Maybe I think I saw something where Oregon went down to 21, but whatever it is, it's still top 25
19.
matchup.
It's 16 versus 19.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for where we pick us to have 2 ranked teams with the records of 9-3 and 8-4 in the Sun Bowl is you know what? I'll take it. I'll take it. We can get 8-4 teams here. And obviously, we get the 7-5 teams, and occasionally 6-6. But to go to 9-3 and match them up against an 8-4, that's for where we pick. I think that's incredible. And I just hope, like I said, people are coming out, because there's a couple of tickets left, so here and there. But it's great for our city. It is really great for our city, and that's what I work for. I want to bring a quality game to our town.
Speaking of great for the city, we're talking an economic impact that is unprecedented. If you went back to 2010, what it did for the city and what it's going to do for the city this year is unbelievable. And I think that's what are the excitement there.
And let's face it, the main reason any bowl exists is to bring in some tourism to those cities during a time when a lot of people don't travel.
Sure.
Well, now they have a reason to travel to follow their team. And that's why all bowls exist to begin with. I always say we have 3 reasons for existing. Number 1 is to give El Paso, our citizens, a quality event. And it's more than just a football game. The fan fiesta, the pregame party, the flyovers, everything. There's something for everybody. That's number 1. We give a quality event. Number 2, very important now, to give El Paso some positive national recognition nationwide. And CBS does an incredible job for 55 consecutive years of promoting our city and telling the people across the country that, hey, this is a great city. You know, this is what they do. This is great. Because let's face it, most of the time when El Paso's on national news, it's usually not good.
Yeah, unfortunately,
yeah. But the Sun Bowl, the Sun Bowl does, and CBS does, and they do a tremendous job of promoting our city. Number two, give us a positive national recognition, and obviously the third reason is what we're talking about is to have a positive economic impact on our city. Now, there's a lot of events that El Paso has that are huge and probably more money exchanges, but a lot of times the money's going from one El Paso to another El Paso. With the Sun Bowl, people can come from out of town. They stay in our hotels. They eat in our restaurants. They shop in our stores. Money stays here.
And I think one of the best parts about it, too, is you're talking about two teams that are from up north, right? Like Notre Dame, South Bend, Indiana, gets pretty cold up there. Those flat places that have them nice cold winters. Oregon, obviously super, far up north, going to have snow, going to have all that stuff. So it's going to be an incentive for their fan base to come on down here, bask in the sun, even though some of the games have had snow. So we've had some weird weather on some of these games, but it's still, the Sun Bowl, the Sun City, you're getting out of an area like that where I feel like places like Miami, Southern Cal don't really get to appreciate that change in what the weather dynamic is. But now you got these two teams that are going to come down here. They've got amazing fan bases. You've got a matchup of a team that hasn't been here since 2008 in Oregon State.
That's right.
And then Notre Dame, as we know, hasn't been here since 2010. What are you expecting out of this game? Because this looks like it's going to be a lot of fireworks.
Everybody talks about the portal and everything about the players leaving and the coaches leaving. But you know what? First of all, we pick team based on the name on the front.
Yes.
Not on the back.
Right.
Oregon State's quarterback entered the portal, but you know who's going to quarterback him this year? The same guy that won 7 straight games last year for them and was the most valuable player in the Las Vegas Bowl. They got a good team. And I know everybody's talking Notre Dame. Oregon State's got a pretty good team. And I can see with all the hype everywhere that's going towards Notre Dame, it's going to incentivize these players. Said, hey, we're here too. And I think it's going to be a tremendous matchup. I think we're in for, when Notre Dame was picked last week, somebody said, God, I hope we have great weather. Well, I'll be honest with you. With that matchup, I don't care what the weather is. We're going to fill up that stadium no matter what happens. We did remember the last time we had 54,000 people in that stadium before they remodeled and cut the capacity down. That's still the largest crowd ever in the stadium for any event. All right. And that's what I hope to get this year. We will I think we're like this far from being sold out already. There's just a couple of tickets left here and there, according to my ticket manager. But what it does for the city is incredible. Like I said, we have 2 good football teams coming in. 2 really good football teams coming in. That's what we want. I hope it's 65 degrees, 7 degrees, and I hope they put about 85 combined points up there, and just give people, an exciting game. But we're extremely grateful and fortunate to get this matchup. And we're getting ready.
We are. And not only that, but, we talk about the history of the Sun Bowl and how many prolific matchups there's been. And people need to remember, it was the U and Notre Dame in 2010, but Notre Dame blew them out. And, of course, the cold weather came that day. This, to me, honestly, I look at these two teams and what they've done this year, has the potential of being one of the best bowl games of the whole season. Yeah. And the fact that it's here is just wonderful. Absolutely. I mean, everybody has a lot to look forward to with this particular game.
We've been ranked in the top 10 as before the bowls as one of the top 10 matchups, in the 43 bowl series that we're having. So people are recognizing the fact that we have a matchup, which translates into people turning their TVs on.
Sure.
It's a lot more than just the people in the stands, but it's also like that. It's what we can do nationally on television. So having a matchup like that will help the city as well.
Our friend Will Heron saying hello to all of us, giving us his love, saying that he's excited for the Sun Bowl as well. Will Heron now living over in Louisiana, so it's nice to see that he's tuning in for this. Like, how amazing is it for you, Bernie, to see that whenever people talk about the Sun Bowl, it's not just talking about the matchups that we get, because it seems like we always get some pretty good matchups, whether it's, Duke, Georgia Tech, whoever it is that's coming in to participate in it. But it starts getting that national appeal from people. What's that like for you, seeing that this thing that you've helped grow over the last few years? What's it like for you watching the fact that everyone's talking about it nationally?
Oh, I think it's fantastic, and again, I think it's great for our city. We just get a bad rap a lot that I feel, El Paso. This coming April, we're having our bowl season convention here in El Paso. All 43 bowls and their staffs are coming to El Paso. And when we first announced it, when we first won the bid, a lot of people said, "We're going to El Paso? Why are we going to El Paso? We're going to El Paso." And now that has changed. Now they're telling, I've been calls from my colleagues saying, "Hey man, can't wait to get there. Can't wait to get there. We're going to show you a good time, just like we show our football teams." And that's what I mean. This is about our city. Our parade that we just had Thanksgiving, that's about our city. We drew about 250,000 people to that parade because the weather was absolutely fantastic, and the parade was great. That's what we're about. We're about promoting our city and having some positive things for us. It's not all about the Sun Bowl. And I tell the people that are coming in, I say, you know what? Everybody tells us, you all have the reputation of having the best hospitality ever. And I said, yes, we do. But it's not just the Sun Bowl. The whole city opens up their arms to our visitors. And if they see somebody walking down the street with an Oregon State shirt on, they're going to know why they're here.
Sure.
If you go to Miami or go to Orlando, go to Disney World, go to anywhere, and people are wearing shirts from the teams that are going to play in those bowls, some of those people don't even know that their teams are playing.
Yeah, who? Where?
Yes.
Where are we at? You know what I mean?
And that's what's different about this. I feel that's what's different about Sun Bowl. When, of course, a lot of people around here wear Notre Dame stuff, but you know what? During that week, if you see somebody wearing a Notre Dame or an Oregon State, our local people will say, "Hey, welcome to El Paso. Hope you're having a good time. Can I help you?" That's where our reputation of our hospitality comes, not just from the Sun Bowl, but for our entire city, which is great.
And another reason to cherish this matchup.
Absolutely.
Number one, next season there's 12 teams in the playoff. Okay, so that changes the dynamics of college football. And number two, the Pac-12 has been dismantled officially. So it's changing all of the way things work in college football, and of course, with whom the Sun Bowl may end up choosing going forward. So I think the fact that, again, we got the powerhouse ACC team, powerhouse Pac-12 school that's still there for now, also makes it all the bit more sweet this season.
Absolutely. Everything is falling into place. Like I said, all we need is great weather and a great matchup, because right now everything is falling into place. I couldn't be happier.
Sure.
So with Brandon bringing that up, with the eventual folding of the Pac-12, what are some of the conferences that we have in mind that we're going to start trying to aim at for bringing into here at the Sun Bowl?
Well, obviously there's only a couple that we look for. We already have the ACC, and obviously the Big 10, Big 12 are there. The SEC is probably loaded with bowls already, so.
You don't want to get Vanderbilt?
And of course, you know what? Any SEC team, of course, we are still under contract with Pac-12 for the next couple of years. So we really can't talk to anybody, because we're still under contract, and we're going to honor that contract as long as we have to, and see what's going to happen. Personally, like I said, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know if they know what's going to happen. I know what's something that they are doing is that the NCAA allows the conference 2 years to reform the conference. All right, and you have to have at least 8 teams to be a conference. So
who knows what's going to happen?
We don't know what's going to happen, but I think the 2 remaining schools in the conference are doing it right by sitting back, seeing what's going to happen, and then after that, see who joins, or whether they're going to join somebody else. I don't think that they would be considered a Power 5 conference based on the teams that are available, and I don't think they're going to be able to raid any of the other Power 5, power conferences to come over here. So we don't know what's going to happen. You hear rumors all the time. Who knows? Maybe one of the other conferences will absorb those schools, and then Pac-12 is gone forever. But they've been around for over 100 years. And, I hope they do well, but even with the teams that they get, I don't know if they'll be considered part of that power conference regime.
And we could have seen this a couple of years ago with the exodus of Texas and Oklahoma announcing that they're going to be going to the SEC. We all thought that was a death nail for the Big 12. So there's still hope here for the Pac-12. Maybe they could do something. Maybe they could bring some other schools in that can help them grow. Now, Bernie, the last time you and I spoke, it was a while back. We were at 1380. We were talking about one of the greatest moments that you had as a person with the Sun Bowl Association. And you had mentioned that was Notre Dame. I was able to get a little bit of tears out of you, as much as you don't want to remember that.
You know what? I cray at Lassie reruns, okay? I'm just, that's the way, and I think, I get choked up a lot, but not at anything, and not just, in moments, but when I'm just talking, something happens and I get choked up, and I think that's a physical thing. But no, yeah, I get pretty emotional, but it's not, like I said, I Love Lucy reruns. I cry at Lucy, or Lassie reruns, or whatever. But that's just the way. Those are my genes.
Well, I was going to ask, where does this now? Where you get the unexpected, a super unexpected Notre Dame announcement coming here to the Sun Bowl as well?
I get that when they even first announced that Notre Dame was part of it. I looked at the committee and I go,
how is that possible? Yeah. Right?
Did I just hear right? And it did happen. Of course, I get emotional about the Sun Bowl. Just the Sun Bowl. I mean, this is what I live for. This, we prepare all year for this, and like I said, this month it gets really exciting for me, and I love staying up late. I love going to the office. I just love everything about it.
Isn't it is it the first time in the history of announcing the teams you didn't have the helmet of one of the teams? I mean, it has to be up there.
When I started doing that, we never used to do that. We never used to do that, and I used to go to the ACC championship game on Saturday, and then couldn't get back in time for
selection
Sunday. So I can't go over there anymore. So I go to the Pac-12 championship. But we're at the office one time. I said, the selections before we started doing this selection Sunday party, we'd meet at the office, and all the media guys are sitting there, waiting outside our doors and stuff. And one day he said, let's have a party. That way the media can learn everybody can learn at the same time. And be honest with you, the first year we had it at a bowling alley, and there was about 30 people there.
That's great.
The bowling alley right across, right here on Onyx Drive.
Sure, I remember that.
I said, yeah, let's see who shows up. And hardly anybody showed up. And we started now we get 300, 400 people show up, which is awesome. That makes people are excited about the Sun Bowl game now. So, the media treats us so well. I can't thank the media enough for the coverage that we get from everybody. I mean, it just because it helps our city, it helps our game, it helps everybody involved.
Excellent. I mean, I'm looking forward to this matchup. It's going to be on December 29th at the Sun Bowl, Notre Dame versus Oregon State. This is going to be a phenomenal game. I cannot wait for it. I'm also with Bernie. I hope it's perfect weather, but I don't care if it's -3. I'll be out there in a jacket. I will be supporting this one. I was living in North Carolina in the Air Force at the time. The last time Notre Dame was here. I am not missing this game.
I'm not missing it either. I'm not missing it. I was out of town the last time they were here like a putz. I was in Chicago, but not this year.
Yeah.
I'll be here.
I'd also like to remind people that, obviously our granddaddy of them all is the 20th Tiger Sun Bowl. We have a basketball tournament coming up on December 20th and 21st.
Good
we got some pretty good teams coming in. We have Wyoming, we have South Dakota State, we have Norfolk State, 20th, 21st. Very inexpensive tickets to go see some pretty good basketball. Our UTEP Miners, I think, are really good. I love watching them play this year. They are fun to watch. And then we have the Fan Fiesta the day before the game, free of charge. And we'll have the Battle of the Bands. So those Notre Dame band and the Oregon State band will be performing, and there'll be live music, there'll be food, there'll be games, there'll be all kinds of things going on. So we invite everybody to come out to the Convention Center from 4 to 8 on December the 28th. And then if you're going to the game or you're not going to the game, we have a pregame party that's also free. It's on Glory Road, and come on over and have breakfast with Tony the Tiger. And guess what they're serving?
Cornflakes? They're great, right? I can't wait.
Guess what they're serving?
Frosted flakes. Sorry, it's frosted cornflakes, isn't it?
Wow. Yes, frosted flakes. But like I said, it's free of charge. Tony the Tiger will be there. We'll have plenty of frosted flakes out there, and have fun before the game. I will say something. I want to say something about Frosted Flakes and Tony the Tiger, if you allow me to.
Okay, yes. Go ahead. I'm all ears.
One of the reasons that Kellogg's is our sponsor is because they have an initiative called Mission Tiger. They've said that they've made some research that 60% of middle schools across the country have lost their sports programs.
Oh, wow.
Due to money. So Mission Tiger is an initiative to help bring back, to help middle schools get their athletic programs back. So every box of Frosted Flakes that is sold, some of that money goes to Mission Tiger, and that goes out to help schools. When they first announced that when we had a press conference to announce that they were going to be our title sponsor, they started a sponsorship by donating $300,000 worth of sports equipment to the local middle school.
Wow.
$300,000. Last year they presented a check for $30,000. Trying to remember which school it was. This year they're going to do the same thing at the game.
That's awesome.
So every box of Frosted Flakes that is sought, that is bought, that is sold, or you buy is helping middle schools with their athletic programs. And like I said, can't thank them enough.
Absolutely. Great cause too. You got to love it. Absolutely got to love it.
I cannot wait to see what happens at the end of this game. I do know one thing that I want to see happen is the Pop-Tart Bowl has where you get to take a bite out of the mascot.
Do we get to see?
Are we gonna have something similar like that, or we just have a big old bowl of corn, like the biggest bowl you can get?
We're the ones that started that when Arizona State played here, and the story. Obviously, we give a lot of Frosted Flakes to the schools. We put some in their dressing room, and during halftime, the trainers and managers were sitting there, and they said, "Hey, let's pour some of these cornflakes into one of those Gatorade jugs, and if we win, we'll pour it on Coach."
Oh man, that's gonna piss them off.
So instead of the Gatorade bath, when the winning coach, they dumped Frosted Flakes on them,
Nice.
and now that caught on. So now the Idaho Potato Bowl.
Potatoes.
I saw the Cheez-It Bowl.
Bunch of fries,
French
maybe?
fries.
French fries.
The cheeses. The
With
mayo
ketchup?
The mayo bowl went a little bit too far.
Bunch of mayo? You're kidding me, right? That's disgusting. Bunch of mayonnaise? That's terrible.
It's staged now.
That's just.
After the game, the coach comes into a studio and they have this thing full of mayonnaise, and then they dump it.
Cheez-Its aren't bad though because they're fluffy and light. You know.
But
I like Cheez-Its.
But what they did was that if the coaches agreed to do that and go into a studio and have them dump it, they will donate $10,000 to a charity of their choice.
Then it's worth it. Then
So
I'll take some mayonnaise for that.
Yes, exactly.
And by the way, the Pop-Tart Bowl featuring NC State Wolfpack and Kansas State Wildcats.
There you go.
Our bowl sounds like it's phenomenal.
I would say, like, again,
the matchup wise, I'd say
the pundits are saying that this is a top 10 bowl. I'm going to say this is a top 5 bowl.
I say top 5.
This is a phenomenal.
Other than
matchup.
the playoff, it's a top 5.
This is a phenomenal matchup between Notre Dame and Oregon State. It's going to be a lot of fun. Remember, December 29th. Go ahead.
High noon.
Go ahead and get your tickets because there's not a lot of them left.
Very many of them left. Very many of them left. Bernie, you're a busy man, and I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here on our show today.
Oh, I appreciate you thinking of us.
We always appreciate you, Bernie.
I appreciate you thinking of us, and because again, we're extremely happy. I hope the city's happy. I hope the city, has a big economic impact. I hope everybody enjoys it. So
we will.
This is fun.
Bernie, once again, thank you so much. We appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, appreciate
You're our
you
buddy,
guys.
Bernie. We always appreciate your time, my
appreciate
friend.
You guys. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll take a quick break. I'm going to put this so y'all don't see us, so you don't get to see the fatness as I stand up.
Wait.
But we'll be back in a minute.
Speak for yourself.
I mean, I am speaking
All right, let's see.
All right. We are back here on Fire and Ice. Our thanks going out to Bernie Olivas for hooking us up today, coming out, hanging out with us. Our guy, Augustine Pimentel, saying that we have to quote Brandon the Iceman Cone, was saying, "I'll have some mayo for that."
Well,
we had turned that into a shirt.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, who doesn't want to take some mayo for $10,000, right?
I'm about to say. I mean,
it's a cool. I mean,
taken out of context, though. It
yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks for reminding me what I'm really supposed to say here. You're hilarious. You're a very funny man.
I didn't say it. Augustine said it. You got anyone to get mad at? You get mad at Augustine.
He's a funnier man.
But once again, the Sun Bowl happening December 29th. Get on out there. There's still a little bit of tickets remaining. So you got to, if you want them, you got to pay for them. A couple of tickets remaining out there for the Sun Bowl. It's going to be a great time. If not, watch it on CBS. 55 years of CBS and the Sun Bowl have been together. I believe it's one of two bowls that are not on ESPN, which is just fantastic to think about. One of two bowls not on ESPN, so it's not getting lost in all that mix. It's got its own standalone, so that's fantastic for it as well. I put the link up on the Tipping Point social medias if you want to get in and be a part of the show, talking with Brandon and I here. We'll open that up because Augustine said that he wants to be a part of it, so I have some other people as well, so we'll get with that. But Brandon, I mentioned a little bit earlier that I thought the College Football Playoff Committee got it right. Mm-hmm. I don't think Florida State deserved, and I told you this last week as well, that I don't think Florida State deserved to be in the College Football Playoff. It's nothing against them. It's a weak ACC. Who are you going to leave out? Are you leaving out Texas?
Mm-hmm. No.
The Big 12 has been fantastic this year. Are you leaving out Washington? No. Are you leaving out Alabama? No. Michigan, you cannot leave out.
No.
So what is it that Florida State has, or Florida State fans think that they have, where they can get in over those teams? And to me, it's nothing. Like I get it. You won 13 games. Fantastic. Good for you. But if you don't beat Georgia, this whole thing is a non-issue.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, and you predicted that. I give you kudos to that because I had Georgia winning that game. I mean, geez, they hadn't lost a game in like 2 years, but if anybody's going to beat them, it's going to be the Tide.
One more time, what was that?
You predicted it right. You were actually right, and you called it, and you busted my balls when the game was going. I told you, you sent me that famous Tipton text, which I always love. And bottom line is, yes, you were correct. I was wrong. And you're right. None of it transpires and happens if that game does not go the way it does, and including us getting Notre Dame. We don't get Notre Dame at the Sun Bowl. Long story short, it's still a very flawed system. It's still very hard to keep out a 13-0 undefeated team. But in the end, it's all about the biggest name programs. Not to say Florida State is not a big name program, but they are not as big as Bama. They are not as big as Texas, especially since Texas hasn't been this good in a long time, long time. 05 when they made the championship game and beat USC. So money talks, big programs talk, and TV talks, right? Those are the three bottom lines here. And the bottom line, unfortunately, is that Florida State got screwed. It's not fair. Life isn't fair, but it is what it is. I mean, I don't have any ties. I'm not a Florida State fan, but I know a lot of fans that were appalled by it, and it's very disheartening for the coaching staff and the kids. But in the end, it's about the programs that are going to make the biggest names in the playoff, and those four programs, deservingly so. Washington, UW is there, and of course, Michigan is Michigan. The great story without their coach for the last few games of the regular season and still go undefeated. It's going to be a great playoff, and Alabama's got to be part of that. They did their part. They did their part and beat Georgia for the SEC title.
And I think that's the thing, right? Is like there's no way you're leaving Alabama out. You have to have a representative from the SEC be in the college football playoff because the SEC, as much as people want to argue with it, the SEC is king. It's basically a minor league football, a professional football league. But I want to get past all that stuff, Brandon, because there was something that was brought up to me that I thought was extremely interesting and that I can see actually happening. And it was from the NCAA that they brought out, and they said this could be something that potentially happens where you have a separate subdivision that is basically the power conferences creating their own championship as a separate league, independent of the NCAA, to where the teams are not NCAA affiliated teams, but instead owned by the university. And the thing is that there's examples of this in Europe where, certain universities own certain soccer clubs. I want to say in Mexico as well, Mexico City, I think it's Pumas that is owned by a university as well. So it's not like it's going to be something that hasn't ever been done before. The university will own the actual rights of the football team. They'll come up with their own little payroll and salary cap and things like that. What do you think about that route as far as trying to crown a national champion? Because I feel with NIL we have to do something. It's been the wild, wild west. There's a lot of money switching places. A player can commit to a place, and then 2 days later, after he's got the money, leave without any repercussions.
Yeah.
So the NIL has to start getting some sort of regulations on it, and I really like this idea from the NCAA because what it does is it creates two different types of champions, much like what you get with the NCAA tournament and the NIT.
I'm okay with anything that A, creates more playoff opportunities, and B, creates more opportunities in general for the programs that consistently get screwed every year. And that to me includes, and I think the late, great Mike Leach put it best by saying every other league has a adamant and good playoff system except for college football. And he was absolutely right. How in the hell does Division I college football not have the brains to be able to have gotten it right all these years and said, okay, yes, we're going to kind of do it right by going from the BCS to a 4-team playoff to waiting years and years. How many years has it been to finally say that, well, maybe we can expand it to 12 teams, okay? How many teams in the meantime have gotten screwed and not gotten the opportunity to play for a national championship and have been on the outside looking in? I am so sick and tired of these teams completely getting rear-ended and getting no repercussions for it. And sure, is Florida State going to end up in a big bowl game? But you're not going to get a chance to play for and win a national championship. So I'm one of these people that says, I don't give a crap if you have your starting quarterback or not. You should be allowed to play for some kind of a championship or in some kind of playoff system.
We are being joined by the premier athlete himself, Augustine Pimentel, joining us, the one and only AP. He must have something he wants to say. Let's see if it has any sort of intelligence behind it. Go ahead.
Probably not. But that's a different story. Hey, Brandon, how are you, buddy?
Augustine, good to see you, pal. Always a pleasure, man.
Hey, we just an FYI for everybody. Brandon and me used to go to lunch quite some time, and he got me hooked on those double dipped honey. What was it, Brandon?
Double dip honey wings. The double dip wings from Track One. Those are phenomenal. They really are. They're very good. If you haven't tried them, we got to go for a grease.
One day, yeah.
Good grease there, yeah.
Yeah, but and this is something to do with college football, and you guys were talking about it right now and how the landscape has changed in the last 10 years. And you spoke about this mini semi-pro league that is the SEC and maybe the Big Ten. Is it just college football? The top programs are in that, and it's everybody else. So should everybody else have a separate quote unquote championship game? Because the UTEPs of the world, the NMSUs, all this will never be able to compete against those big guys. So is it fair to say that basically SEC and Big Ten are basically Division I and the rest are happily Division II?
I think that's more than likely the way that it's going to have to be, right? Where you have the separate divisions, because there has to be that separation now. I know Brandon and a lot of other people out there love to romanticize the fact that maybe, just maybe, one day a group of 5 team will get in there and maybe they can do something. And, the sun shines on a dog's ass every now and then. That's not going to happen in college football. I saw this stat earlier this year, or actually earlier this week, where in college football, if you are a double-digit favorite, you won 89 out of 91 times. 89 out of 91 times. That's about as sure as it could possibly be, where the overwhelming favorite is dominating. You don't have upsets anymore.
Wait a minute. How about New Mexico State winning at Auburn?
Auburn was a 9-point favorite.
Oy vey.
Yes,
they weren't a double-digit favorite?
They were not a double-digit favorite. Okay, so Auburn was a 9-point favorite.
That's all they were?
That's all it was, because Auburn's bad. Auburn has been bad for a couple of seasons.
No, I look, the majority of the time the big boy wins. I get it. But what I'm trying to say is this. First of all, it'll never happen where all these teams will go to D2. Everybody and their brother has been arguing for years. UTEP needs to go to D2. You lose too much money.
I don't think it's necessarily the classification of D2, and I think that Augustine kind of meant it in a different way as well. And Augustine, if I'm speaking for you, please let me know. But I think it's maybe they stay at D1, what the classification of D1 is currently. But these other teams, the major teams in the SEC, the major teams in the Big Ten, because let's face it, those are the ones that are going to be the champions. Not even so much the Big 12, because once they lose Texas and Oklahoma, that conference is still looking like a dump heap, right? So it's going to be those ones. They create their own, we'll call it like NCAA plus or whatever, since everything's all about ESPN plus and whatnot. So it's the NCAA plus, D1, then you go into your D2 and D3s. And I think that that's the way that it's going to have to be if we want these places to even have some sort of semblance of success. Now, it's going to be, I believe, the remaining conferences that we would have in our hypothetical situation in D1, you give them a championship that you put more value on than what we do with the NIT. I still think the NIT is a championship, right?
Yeah, so no, you're correct. But Tipton, how do you get all these bowl games to buy into that idea again? Because, I mean, these last four really gave – and I understand the bowl's importance for El Paso game and everything, but it really has no impact on anything. It's just, two good teams going to a bowl game, and maybe their good players are going to play, maybe not. That's another thing. So
I feel like you and I are sharing a brain right now, Augustine, because you set me up for what my next point was going to be. Now, the sexual thoughts that you have right now, I don't want any part of that.
No mayo, please.
Extra mayo, please. But what I would say is, and I thought about this because we were talking about expansion last week, and it was one of those things that came up for all of us, right? The NCAA expanding to a 12-team playoff. My thought process on this whole thing is, why not have a top 25 team playoff? You make it into that top 25. You create it like an NCAA tournament style thing. You say too long. The bowl game started this week and are going all the way through January 17th. So I mean, we've got a full month of bowl games that we get here. You can have the bigger name bowls be like your major playoff bowls, like your championship games, like the NFC Championship, AFC Championship could be like the Fiesta Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. The Super Bowl could be whatever the hell that major bowl is going to be called. And then your secondary, tertiary bowls can be your introductory rounds of the playoffs, right? So the Sun Bowl can be considered a wild card game matchup between, let's go with the hypothetical of number 2, Michigan versus number 25, whoever. Number 1 gets a bye week. And you just kind of go that way with the pyramid. You expand the pyramid. It generates more money. It gets more people interested in the bowl game because you have major matchups the whole time that actually have consequences to them that lead to a championship. And I think that's a win-win for everybody. Now, I know that's totally outside of the box, but I'm thinking like the NCAA right here, and I'm thinking all about the money, and I think that's a great way to get money.
It is, but at the same time, how many bowls will have the patience, if you want to call it that, to propose something like that to the NCAA? Because how much money does the Sun Bowl pay? $1 million each, $1,200,000?
Well, and that's the thing that I think is going to happen is the NCAA, if they want to get this something like this, where everyone can say, "Look, we're actually crowning a real national champion. We don't want any more of this controversy. This is the best way to do it." We all talk about how well the NCAA tournament is ran and how that produces a legitimate champion, right? If you go the NCAA route this way with a bowl series, kind of with what we're doing, what my hypothetical is here, the NCAA is going to put money behind it, because then the NCAA gets the power back, because right now the NCAA doesn't have the power from the conferences. So if you say this is the way that we crown a real champion, where everyone has a legitimate shot, all you got to do is be in the top 25. And then once again, like you all like to say, the sun shines on the dog's ass every now and then.
Anyone can win the lottery.
Exactly. So you have a
chance. So top 25 is way too much, though.
Well, here's what I would propose. I would propose then do a NCAA tournament-like thing where if you win your conference, you make the playoff, not just top 25, because then it gives – and of course, in the end, a Power 5 school is going to win. I agree with you there. That's usually what happens every year in the tournament, but it still makes it more interesting.
I've got to think about what the numbers would be with the amount of bowls that would happen to get this hypothetical.
Well, how many conferences?
If Andrew, if you may help me out, please, if you could find out how many games would have to happen between a 25-game pyramid, giving like the first 3 or whatever a bye week, how many games that would happen, because I think it's going to be the exact same amount of bowl games. Because we already got 43 bowls.
And then
so
some.
You got
right?
so in
these
43 bowls, you've got 80 teams.
You make playoff teams. Make them everybody gets to be in the playoff. You make an NCAA tournament out of it where it lasts 3-4 weeks, like the bowl season, and everybody wins, and it's fun.
I feel like I just saved college football.
You did. Why is it taking you so long to figure this out?
I'm a genius.
You aren't as much of a schmuck as I take you for.
Wait. Is that directed toward me or Tipton?
both of you schmucks. Wait,
Just checking.
I
mean, and you're right. And you're right, Tip. There's something has to happen because
bowl games.
Florida State with I think they're unbeaten, I think, as well.
Yeah.
But, yes, 14-0.
But the huge thing is they lost their quarterback.
Yeah.
And that screwed them.
And that's the thing, right? Is if you don't have the marquee player and you kind of know what's going to happen, especially against those teams. I can't see an injured Florida State team beating Texas. I can't see them beating Michigan. I can't see them beating Washington because Michael Penix Jr., once again, a lefty quarterback. You want to get me excited? Give me a lefty quarterback that just bombs it down the field. And then they're not going to beat Alabama as well. I think the playoff committee got this right because Alabama, Michigan creates a hell of a matchup because you've got the evil empire versus the guy who cheats all
Texas
the time.
and Alabama potentially in the final. And that's a rematch.
That creates a draw. That creates people wanting to watch.
It's all about what people want to watch. That's the bottom line. It's not about who's more deserving. It's about who's going to make the more shekels and who's going to watch on TV. How many more people are going to watch versus not watch if this other team is in there without their starting quarterback? It's unfortunate, but it is true.
Now it makes me want a playoff committee for the NFL because I guarantee you the Cowboys will be in there all the time.
It's
all about making money.
They won 2 games, 44. 24.
You were doing so well, Tipton.
So think about this, Augustine. There's currently 43 bowl games going on right now. In order for our pyramid to happen of the top 25, you need 25 bowls. So that leaves enough games. It'll leave us basically 18 bowl games, 19 bowl games that we can hand out to the shitty teams out there, the NMSUs and the other ones like that. And I don't want to say NMSU shitty. My bad. I was there with you guys. I'm just saying you're not on the same level as Alabama and these other schools. I immediately walked that back. You guys got to see it in real time where I don't have the filter to stop myself and I realize what I said. I tried to eat my words.
You get mad at me. That's the funny thing. You're such a jerk. I love you.
I mean, I'm good with it.
You're my buddy.
I'm good with it.
Where's Mario Mocha when you need him?
It's me trying to be a PG Tipton.
No damn PG Tipton. That's hilarious, man.
But there you go. So your pyramid gives you 24 bowl games.
It's cool.
That seems very doable.
It eventually, they're going to just keep adding more and more playoff teams anyway. So it's going to be like that because, the thing is that these playoff games are huge. They're tremendous. And I mean, again, why not just adding more like every other sport? I mean, the more playoff, the more opportunities, the more money, the more everything, right?
Yeah, I mean
that's the bottom line.
And then face it like this: like the fans are going to be into it.
Of course, because your team has a chance of being there. Your team has a chance of being there.
I feel like you're trying to say something. You keep blocking.
Sorry. Hi, little fella.
Can't say little fella.
This is my son.
About 20 now.
12 years old.
He's got a deeper voice than Augustine already.
Go away.
That's parenting right there. Just leave. Be gone.
Be gone.
Got the attention. Now I want it back.
Yeah, exactly. You had your 2 minutes of fame.
So what do you think, Augustine? I gave you my opinion. Brandon kind of agrees with that. What do you think is the best way to kind of, I don't want to say save the NCAA because it's doing pretty damn well with the model it's got going on right now. But what do you think would be the best way to try to crown a champion?
I mean, yeah, its motto is working in the short run right now, but at the same time, there comes a point in time where people are going to get tired of all these meaningless bowl games, and attendance is going to start to drop off. And
this is already happening, though.
It's already happening. So,
I mean,
it just, I think Tipton is right but I think that top 25 is way too many conference champions. That may be a way to do it, but at the same time, I feel having at the most, 10, 12 teams there at the most. I understand all this top 25, but seriously, the only ones that would be credible to win the championship, the national championship, would be in the top 10. Alabama being an example this year, I think it was number 8 when they beat Georgia. I think that was
7 or 8, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think about this model right here? They seem to play 13 regular season games. What if we drop it down to 10 regular season games in the major conferences, and then we kind of have our pyramid built from there?
I think you're going to have to go with each conference and say your conference championship. What you do in the conference is again more important than what you do outside the conference, and that should be it because that should be the pathway to a chance of a national championship. You don't win your conference, you're not going to be in the run for your national championship.
But the thing that I think happens with that, Augustine, is that now you start losing those money games that a lot of minor, like UTEP needs, that New Mexico State needs. They need those payoffs. And if you make the conference, like whatever happens in the conference is the end all be all, it's going to take those games away.
No, and Brandon knows about this because Brandon used to see all this great marketing that UTEP had when it had great rivals in the conference. Right now, there's the only real conference rival is NMSU, and they're going to kick our butts for the next 10 years anyway. But
probably he's not that far off.
I mean,
we have a new coach, so I like him.
Yeah, but a new coach, how long is it going to take him not to be the demo of dive right, dive left? But anyway, that's a different story.
Probably.
Yeah. And yeah, I think Tipton's idea, and you should write it down, Tip, and tell the NCAA for all your money-making, money-grabbing schemes. I think we got the perfect one for you right here.
Army.
And about the Cowboys, the Cowboys are sucks. But anyway, I got one more question for you guys before. What do you think about New Mexico State just going to the New Mexico Bowl?
Because
I think
they
got jammed out.
Well, and that's the problem, is that if you're the runner-up, if nothing else, in CUSA, that's the fair to Midland bowl game you end up in. Plus, it's all about, it's a regional bowl game for them to go. I mean, had they won the conference, which, they were only 10 points away, then they go to a better bowl game, obviously. But it's part of being in CUSA, man. Welcome to Conference USA.
I was about to say, so yeah, it's Conference USA.
I mean,
if anything, they should have a home field advantage.
Yeah, at least they're at least they're A, 3 hours away, and B, at least they're in a bowl game again.
Yeah, and then
for a second consecutive year,
you win the bowl, you get some money, you go on your way.
Better for recruiting.
You get to show people you beat Fresno State, and that's a win.
Here's the thing: how many years will they be in CUSA if they keep doing well?
How hilarious would it be to watch New Mexico State
go to the Mountain West?
Everything UTEP wanted to do, New Mexico
State 3 years down the road. That would be ironic, is what it would be. But it's not beyond the realm of possibility if they keep winning bowl games, right?
And Brandon. They're and Brandon, please answer this, because Lou Romano says you can't recruit to El Paso. How the hell is New Mexico State recruiting to Las Cruces?
Well, they've had a lot more success in the last decade. That helps because people want to win bowl games and not lose bowl games. And B, you're in a different state. So you're in New Mexico, where you're going to get some of the more creme de la creme in New Mexico, versus it's almost nearly impossible to recruit here in the state of Texas. If you're a 3-star athlete, or you're a 2-star athlete, you're going somewhere else. You're not staying in El Paso. Just saying. You know it as well as I do.
I don't
usually
know.
Not.
I don't know
Usually
if I
not.
necessarily agree with that.
I
do agree with the fact that New Mexico State has had a lot more success, especially recently, than UTEP
bowl
has.
Games in the last decade.
But that's the thing, right? Is they did the model of going independent, get your ass kicked on TV by everybody. You have TV games, so people are going to be watching. You made some bowls and won some bowls, and you get money.
But when's the last big game that UTEP has won? NMSU still, it was a shitty Auburn team. They still wanted Auburn. I mean, that's the point, is that UTEP can't say they've won that big game.
UTEP beat FIU.
Yeah. Oh, that was a big one. That
or
was
FAU.
Huge.
One of the Fs.
Yeah, they beat
an F.
They beat Houston 20 years ago. Yeah, sure. I mean, they haven't won a big game in the last. They beat Boise State last year.
I will say this. UTEP won a bowl game in 1967.
Hey, man, that's a big one. And against, ironically enough, Florida State.
Yeah, so there you go. That's why Florida State doesn't deserve.
They did win Boise. They beat Boise State last year. That was a semi-big win. But anyways,
the NCAA committee was looking at the history of Florida State.
They're like, they lost in the Sun Bowl to UTEP. So they're going to be out of the top 4
for the remainder of time.
They don't belong in the playoff ever again. Even if it expands to 100, we'll leave them out.
We'll build a wall around you.
Trump's running the playoff committee. He said, we're going to make this huge.
The only bowl you get is the Sun Bowl.
That's it, just the Sun Bowl. We'll figure out a way to get you in.
That was fucking stupid.
Not do the voice. Do that voice, but say, call Bernie Olivas.
No, not doing that one.
We love Bernie Olivas. He's our buddy. We enjoyed having him on.
All right, Augustine, we're going to go ahead and let you go.
Augustine.
We appreciate the conversation. It's always a fun time whenever Augustine gets to join us here on Fire and Ice. Brandon, it's been a fun time. I want to give a big thanks to our guy, Bernie Olivas, for joining us as well. Remember the Sun Bowl, December 29th at high noon at the actual Sun Bowl itself, Notre Dame and Oregon State. It's going to be a fun time. I am all about this game. I cannot wait to get there. Me and my buddy going to be out there as well. Fingers crossed, hopefully. Brandon, once again, I appreciate you so much. And I want to give a thanks to our friends over here at Union Draft House, 730 Sunland Park Drive, in the parking lot of the Shops at Solana. That's cider day, $4 ciders. They got the $2 build your own pizzas. Get on out here. And they've got Army Navy kicking off right now. So you know I'm getting excited about it. Freedom Boners raging, baby.
I bet you have one. All right, so let's end the show on that note.